Hi everyone, Sue Matsuki here for Nightlife Exchange with another Sue's Muse, a surprise Sue's Muse. I was just talking to this beautiful Grace Pena, and she was referred to me through a mutual friend and said, "Hey, she's coming to New York to do some cabaret shows. Would you mind talking to her and giving her some advice?" But the more I spoke with her right before we went to camera, the more I realized she's a Sue's Muse. We should talk to her. So, Grace, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi.
I have a quick question. I mean, you're coming from California. How
Mhm.
did you book yourself here in New York? Because it's really interesting for people coming out of town, one, to market, but also, did you have the contacts or did you just cold call people? How did you get booked? Because you're at 54 Below is going to be her New York debut. Yay for her
Insane.
on September 3rd. And then October 4th, you're going to move the show over to Don't Tell Mamas. And then you have another date lined up in November for Green Room. So, how did you book yourself? I'm so curious.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the biggest curveball ever. So I did my graduate recital for my master's, and then I kind of went, well, I'll send out an email as a Hail Mary just to see, and say, hi, I'm up and coming. I have this show that I really care about, is music I care about like family and connection, and it's all very personal. So I thought something that was very connected would be a nice intro. But I sent it to 54, being like, I don't know, we'll see if they'll take it. And within 3 days, they're like, pitch us the show. And they kind of sent me a little template of how to pitch this
Mhm.
type of thing, which is they're very helpful with that. And sent out my reels and then my little spiel that they followed their template. And then they're like, yeah, we'll have you. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
really fast and really unexpected.
You may
And
as well start at the top, dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. So
why
it just,
not?
I guess. So it just kind of, I went, okay, well, it seems like it could go somewhere. So I'll send it to other places in New York and see what happens. I went to school at Shenandoah, so it wasn't too bad of a commute at the time.
Mhm.
But I flew back home now that I'm in California. But getting everything together has just kind of been sending stuff out and sharing and having a conversation. They're like, let's do it.
Now,
So
when I teach marketing and stuff like that, I say you send a solicitation letter and it's kind of like, the ray is, I would love to book in your venue or something like that. And then you send a little bio, a little blurb of what the show is. And then I'm sure you sent a clip of you performing, right? Because
yes,
is that pretty much what you sent out as a solicitation cold calling people?
pretty much, yeah. So it was just two little mini highlight reels because mine was separated into two acts. Now these venues have you gel them together, but just to show like what I can do or
Right.
what the set would feel like in the
Well, I'm
space.
going to have an example of what Grace sounds like below this interview, and I'll also have direct links for the shows that she'll be doing here on the East Coast. It's called Heartstrings, and you mentioned it's about family and connections. Tell me a little bit about what would be your blurb or your elevator pitch for this show.
Oh, yeah. So basically, it bounces around with genres and all sorts of things, but they all have the central root of being it's about the people I care about in my life. And especially nowadays, where things have been very tense
Mm.
and so divided, and so people need to release and to feel connection with anyone. There's this desire for people to be. Um, and that whole show is just that. And there's humor and it's still fun and it's I'm adding new songs in there, so there's going to be some more groovy stuff and a
Mhm.
bunch of artists that inspire me, but love is at the center, and that's what the show should feel like. People should go in expecting an experience that's fun but also a look into just love in general.
Mhm.
So that's the
Well,
show.
you'll see on the clips that I'll put below, but before I met with you today, I looked at your clips and I was like, oh, she can really sing, and oh, she's funny, and oh, authentic was the word that came to mind for me because I'm a cabaret singer that just likes to be who I am on stage. I don't want to sound or seem scripted. I want to invite you into my living room to tell you some stories. And it seems like you're of that ilk. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you on stage and seeing your work. It's going to be awesome. Before we went to camera, you mentioned to me that you had kind of used to have like this kind of more operatic
Mhm.
musical theater thing in your voice. How did you gravitate to the music that you're now doing under our beautiful cabaret umbrella, which is, of course, everything under the sun? Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about how that transitioned in your voice.
Yeah. So I originally started out having a very lyrical soprano type sound. And I did a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. It was still just musical theatery enough to not be called an operatic sound, really,
Hmm.
but it was classical enough for it to be considered a legit sound. And that's what I did for a long time. And then sometime during grad school, these past 2 years, my voice dropped more into more of a mezzo range. And it was a very big shift. And I did not realize how much I was working to access those higher rings. And I was like, well, what if I would just find what fits my natural voice? Like what fits my natural sound now?
Yeah.
And it's been a journey and I'm still figuring it out. It's still a process, but jazz and blues and soul music and more contemporary musical theater has sort of melded into what the new sound kind of shaped out to be. And I'm still figuring it out, but it's been wonderful. I've also been singing with the gospel choir. That has helped me a lot to kind of figure out that kind of sound and train also being in the more heavy parts of my voice and still having the access,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been a huge vocal transition in a really cool way. And it's just helped me access more ways to tell a story. And I can still do my little classical notes if I want to, but it's more of a back pocket and not the first thing you see.
I see. Now, if you could do, I'm a fairy godmother and poof, I can give you any career you wanted. What would
Ooh.
it be? Is it musical theater? Is it Broadway? Is it like a nightclub singer? What is, I mean,
Ooh.
is it a number of things? What would you want to do with this voice and coming to New York? What do you want have happen here?
That is such a good question. There's so many answers.
I know, kind of six questions in one too. So,
Yeah, because it's different paths that I can see this going, and I would love either direction. If I went full musical theater, yeah, Broadway would be awesome. Off Broadway would be awesome. A tour would be great. But with cabaret, and if I went full on this route, I can see a middle existing. But for cabaret in particular, I want to make Heartstrings kind of a franchise and
I
then
see.
adjust the theming to fit whatever venue. And if it did travel outside of New York and went to different places, how would I meld the set to fit that with the root of the theme being the same?
Mhm.
I can just see the themes of connection, love, being together, and celebrating life and music molding into so many different things, into so many different places.
Mhm.
So I can see that going somewhere. So I could see the cabaret route being a touring thing with Heartstrings being the root of it or being a different show,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, but keeping the authenticity the same and just bringing a fresh perspective uh, around. But
Now, do you work piano voice only, or do you use a trio? What's your usual MO?
so it varies depending. I've been trying because for 54 Below and for Green Room 42, honestly, for all the venues in New York City, I am putting together a band. So I'm doing piano or keys, drums, and bass, a guitar for 54. I think maybe also Green Room if I can swing it and if he's available.
Mhm.
But I like because all the things I do require a lot more syncopation, having at least a very strong rhythmic section is key to bringing the groovy things together. And the guitar can be a fun addition, but at the root of it, jazz, blues, soul, I piano, drums, bass.
Super,
Yeah.
super. What was some of the best advice you'd ever gotten from a mentor or even like in a business capacity that has translated over to who you are as a singer? Is there some kind of bit of advice that you use to this day or
Yeah. I would say it's a more recent piece of advice that stuck out to me. And it's not super like it's not deep wisdom, it's just two words, but it really does help me because I would when I was doing classical music I felt like there needs to be a formality present because there's so much history and so much technique established in it that there is kind of a sense of formality, and you can still be yourself and do that perfectly.
Right.
But for me, Allison Crockett, who I worked with, who is fantastic, I love her,
Mhm.
was just like, be you, please. Just be you, just relax. And there's no act you need to put on. And you can just go and have fun being you on stage.
Yeah.
And it's not that like deep life-changing type of thing where it's super long or it's a parable or anything, but it just every time I feel any sense of nerves or I'm on stage or I'm about to perform and I'm ready, I have to be like turn off the act and just have fun with it. There's no script. It's just you. Be you.
Mhm.
Uh
Is that what
because
you say to
I'm
yourself right before you take the stage?
all the time. I
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah,
That is my little
in the back
mantra.
room, when I'm in the back, I usually say something along the lines of, let me give these people a great show,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just be present. I usually say be present. I want to just make sure that I am who I am on stage, because it's kind of an honor that we get to stand up in front of a bunch of people who pay money to come hear us sing, and why? Why is that? Well, we've worked hard at our craft and everything, so there you go. But I'm really thrilled that you'll be coming to town. I will put this up so everybody out there can see and hear what you sound like. And let's get some bodies in to welcome our Connecticut, Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut, our California gal into town. Are you currently performing out in California? Do you do clubs out there?
Yeah, I have some shows coming up around where I'm from, which is Rancho Cucamonga, California. Very
Mhm.
long name. But yeah, I'm doing some shows around here. We're testing out some songs for Heartstrings and we'll see. But yeah, I'm doing some shows in LA as well.
With heartstrings, I said, like what your friend said to you about just be who you are. I think, though, with a show like Heartstrings, because what you said earlier about how we're all going through those family dynamics of people don't have similar views and how we navigate through that, and just how people are treating people these days everywhere. Just this entitlement to be rude to each other. I just don't get it. So the more generic the feelings that are conveyed in Heartstrings about this is how I'm dealing with it, but I bet you are too. I think that that's the best way to go in terms of making it for everyone. So I'm really excited to see what you put up on stage. And yeah, welcome to New York.
So
You're not here
excited.
yet, but
I'll be
oh,
there soon and I'm very ready.
you will be. Okay, everyone. Gonna have all the details right below this interview. Thank you for doing this with me and spending a few minutes. I'll get it up in time for people to come make their reservations at one of these three wonderful shows that you're going to be doing. Please say thank you to my guest, Grace Pena, and we'll see you next time on Nightlife Exchange. Thanks so much for joining me today.